In the quiet suburbs of Culver City, California, in the late 1970s, a woman named Doris Bither lived with her children in a modest home. Little did she know that her life was about to take a horrifying and inexplicable turn, forever etching her name into the annals of paranormal history. Doris Bither was a troubled woman, her life marked by hardship and sorrow. She had endured her fair share of pain, and her home bore the scars of a tumultuous existence. It was in this backdrop of despair that the entity first made its presence known. One evening, as Doris sat alone in her small living room, she felt an inexplicable chill in the air. Goosebumps prickled her skin, and she shivered despite the balmy California weather. It was the beginning of a terror that would consume her life. The entity manifested itself as a sinister presence, its form often obscured by darkness and shadow. Doris described it as a nebulous, shape-shifting force that seemed to feed off her fear and vulnerability. It was a malevolent visitor, and it showed no mercy. At first, the entity confined itself to the periphery of Doris's life, a menacing figure that lurked in the corners of her vision. But as the days turned into weeks, its actions grew bolder and more sinister. Doris's children became unwitting witnesses to the entity's reign of terror. They watched in helpless horror as their mother was subjected to a relentless barrage of physical assaults. She was slapped, punched, and choked by unseen hands. Bruises and welts marred her body, a testament to the violence inflicted upon her. Despite the mounting evidence of the entity's presence, Doris's claims were met with skepticism and disbelief. Some dismissed her experiences as delusions brought on by her troubled past, while others suggested that her own psychic energy was responsible for the attacks. Desperate for relief, Doris turned to the only source of assistance she could find: a group of paranormal investigators. Dr. Barry Taff, a parapsychologist, and his team took an interest in her case. They arrived at Doris's home armed with scientific instruments and an open mind, ready to confront the unknown. Their investigations yielded unsettling results. The entity seemed to revel in the attention, intensifying its attacks in response to their presence. It was as if it derived perverse pleasure from their fear and bewilderment. As the investigators delved deeper into the case, they began to suspect that the entity had a dark agenda. It seemed to be fixated on Doris, its malevolence directed solely at her. The question that haunted them was why. Why had this sinister force chosen her as its target? Dr. Taff and his team explored various theories. Some believed that the entity was drawn to Doris's traumatic past, feeding off the negative energy that had accumulated in her life. Others posited that it was a manifestation of her repressed rage and suffering, given form by her psychic abilities. The entity's reign of terror reached a horrifying climax one fateful night. Doris's children, who had borne witness to their mother's suffering for far too long, were determined to confront the malevolent force that had torn their family apart. In the aftermath of that harrowing night, the entity's presence slowly waned. It retreated into the shadows, leaving behind a trail of destruction and despair. Doris's life was forever scarred by the terror she had endured, and her family had been irrevocably fractured by the malevolent visitor. The case of Doris Bither and the entity that tormented her remains one of the most baffling and disturbing in the annals of paranormal research. To this day, it raises unsettling questions about the nature of the unknown and the limits of human understanding. As we contemplate the chilling tale of the entity, we are reminded that there are forces in the world beyond our comprehension, forces that defy explanation and challenge our understanding of reality. It serves as a sobering reminder that the darkness that lurks in the shadows may one day reach out to touch our lives, plunging us into a nightmare from which there is no escape. And so, the legend of Doris Bither and the malevolent entity lives on, a haunting testament to the horrors that can manifest in the most unexpected of places, in the quiet corners of our own homes, in the depths of our own fears, and in the enigma of the unseen.